At the end of the topic, you will be able to compare the process of combination with respiration, write a comparative account of photosynthesis and respiration, list the need for respiration, differentiate aerobic and anaerobic respiration.
Living organisms need energy to perform various metabolic activities. Do you know from where organisms derive their energy? Every organism derives their energy from oxidizing food materials. The process of release of energy during the oxidation of food is known as respiration. Now, we shall take a quick glance at the importance of respiration. During respiration, these compounds are oxidized and the breaking of carbon bond liberates a considerable amount of energy. Energy released during respiration is utilized for various metabolic activities at cellular level. Respiration is of two types. They are aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration does not require oxygen to derive energy from the food. The aerobic respiration requires oxygen to oxidize and derives energy from the food. Carbon dioxide and compounds like ethanol or lactic acid are formed during anaerobic respiration. Water is not produced. Carbon dioxide and water are produced as a result of aerobic respiration. Due to incomplete oxidation of glucose, very less amount of energy is produced during anaerobic respiration. Due to complete oxidation of glucose, large amount of energy is produced during aerobic respiration. Look at the overall reaction of anaerobic and aerobic reaction. The process of conversion of glucose to pyruvic acid and subsequently to ethanol or lactic acid in the absence of oxygen is called anaerobic respiration or fermentation. Anaerobic respiration is commonly found in some parasites, yeast, bacteria like Clostridium, and muscular tissue of higher animals. Click on the images for relevant text and audio. In the muscular tissue of higher organisms, pyruvic acid is converted to lactic acid. In the absence of oxygen, yeast cells convert pyruvic acid to ethanol, a type of alcohol. This method is applied for the large-scale production of alcohol and other beverages and industries. Lactobacillus bacteria convert pyruvic acid to lactic acid. This phenomenon is used in our kitchen for making curd. Comparison of respiration with chemical combustion. External heat is applied during combustion to burn sugar molecule, but in respiration, no heat is applied for the oxidation of sugar molecule. During combustion, burning is visible. Example, sugar charring is followed by burning to produce flame. Burning of glucose molecule is not visible during respiration. Example, sugar is oxidized without charring and burning. During combustion, energy is released at once in the form of heat. During respiration, energy is released in small quantities at several stages. A part of this energy is converted to chemical energy and the rest is liberated as heat. Combustion occurs in the absence of water. Respiration occurs in the presence of water. No intermediate compounds are formed during combustion. Intermediate compounds are formed during respiration. Comparison of photosynthesis and respiration. Photosynthesis occurs only in plants and in some photosynthetic bacteria. Respiration occurs in all living organisms. Photosynthesis takes place only in the presence of sunlight. Respiration takes place during day and night. Plants store food materials in their body so they can manage without performing photosynthesis for a few days. But no organism can survive without performing respiration even for a few minutes. In plants, only a few cells which contain chloroplast can perform photosynthesis. All living cells of an organism perform respiration process. It occurs in the chloroplast and is dependent on light. Respiration takes place in cytoplasm and mitochondria and is independent of light. During photosynthesis, light energy is fixed and is converted to chemical energy. During respiration, chemical or potential energy is released. Raw materials like carbon dioxide and water are required for photosynthesis. During respiration, oxygen is used to oxidize carbohydrates or organic substances to liberate energy. During photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is utilized and oxygen is liberated. During respiration, oxygen is utilized and carbon dioxide is released. Photosynthesis is an anabolic process which adds biomass, that is weight, to an organism. Respiration is a catabolic process which decreases the weight of an organism. Photosynthesis involves photophosphorylation, during which ATP is produced by using light energy. Respiration involves substrate level and oxidative phosphorylation, during which ATP is produced from the oxidation of glucose. During photosynthesis, hydrogen is taken from water molecule to reduce NADP to NADPH2. During respiration, hydrogen is taken from carbohydrate to produce NADH2. During photosynthesis, ATP and NADPH2 are used to synthesize organic compounds. ATP and NADH2 produced during respiration are made available for various cellular activities.
Breathing is a physical process because only the air moves from one place to another. Respiration is a chemical process because the food undergoes chemical changes. Energy is not released in breathing, whereas energy is released in respiration. Breathing takes place in breathing organs, whereas respiration takes place in all living cells. The process of oxidation of food to release energy along with water and carbon dioxide as wastes in living cells is called respiration or cellular respiration. Respiration is of two types, aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. When the respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen, it is called anaerobic respiration. Breathing is a physical process because only the air moves from one place to another. Respiration is a chemical process because the food undergoes chemical changes. Energy is released all of a sudden in a large quantity in combustion, whereas energy is released step by step in small quantities in respiration. Photosynthesis is a process where carbon dioxide is taken in and oxygen is given out. Respiration is a process where oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide is given out.
At the end of the topic, you will be able to describe the mechanism of respiration in humans, define the role of alveoli in exchange of gases, discuss the rate of respiration. The system which brings about inspiration, expiration, and exchange of gases in lungs is known as respiratory system. The human respiratory system consists of a pair of nostrils, nasal cavity, nasopharynx or internal nares, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and alveoli or air sacs forming the lungs. Mechanism of respiration in man involves two stages. They are inspiration and expiration. Lungs are made of several thousands of small air chambers called alveoli. Alveolus is the structural and functional unit of the lung. Exchange of gases takes place in the alveolus. When the air reaches the alveoli, oxygen diffuses through the membrane into small blood vessels called capillaries, and carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood in the capillaries into the alveoli.
In this topic, you have learnt the human respiratory system consists of nose, nasal cavity, trachea, bronchi and lungs. The lungs are present in the chest cavity.
Mechanism of respiration in man involves inspiration and expiration. During inspiration, volume of thoracic cavity will increase and the air pressure inside the lung will decrease. Exchange of gases in lungs takes place in the alveolus.
Breathing is a continuous process which goes on all the time and throughout the lifespan of organisms. The walls of alveoli are supplied with thin blood vessels called capillaries which carry blood in them.
At the end of the topic, you will be able to list down the different respiratory organs and the type of respiration involved in animals. Explain the method of simple diffusion in amoeba. Trace out the respiratory pathway in different animals. Describe the mechanism of respiration in different animals. All animals do not have same type of respiration. Animals show different types of respiration based on the respiratory organ present in them. Lower invertebrates show very simple type of respiration. In amoeba, exchange of gases occurs by simple diffusion. Animals like mammals, birds, reptiles and amphibians have pulmonary respiration. Respiratory organ involved in pulmonary respiration is lungs. Fishes, crabs, tadpoles or frogs have bronchial respiration. Gills are the respiratory organs involved in this type of respiration. Earthworm, leech, and amphibians have cutaneous respiration. Skin is the respiratory organ involved in cutaneous respiration. Insects have tracheal respiration. This type of respiration occurs through trachea. Lower unicellular invertebrates show very simple type of respiration. In amoeba, exchange of gases occurs by simple diffusion. Amoeba is a unicellular aquatic organism. It uses the oxygen dissolved in the water for respiration. During respiration, oxygen is used and carbon dioxide is produced. When the amount of oxygen in the body is comparatively lower than the surrounding water, oxygen diffuses into the animal along with the water. Continuous production of carbon dioxide in the cytoplasm increases the amount of carbon dioxide in the body than in the surrounding water. As a result, carbon dioxide diffuses from the body into the surrounding water. Thus, gaseous exchange occurs in amoeba through simple diffusion of gases. Respiration occurring through skin is called cutaneous respiration. This type of respiration is seen in some invertebrates like earthworm and leeches and vertebrates like frog. The skin of earthworm is supplied with a large number of blood vessels. They have hemoglobin in the plasma of their blood. Hemoglobin is a respiratory pigment which binds to oxygen and carries it to the tissues of the body. Since respiration occurs through skin, earthworm always has to keep their skin moist. They keep their skin moist by the following ways. The body cavity of earthworm secretes coelomic fluid. This fluid comes out through minute pores called dorsal pores and keeps the skin moist. Cells of the skin secrete a sticky fluid called mucus. Mucus absorbs water and prevents the skin from drying up. Earthworm lives inside the burrow, which is usually cool and moist. This helps to retain the moisture present on their skin. These are the three ways by which earthworm retains moisture in the skin to facilitate gaseous exchange. Frog belongs to the class Amphibia, and it lives in both land and water. Skin is a very important respiratory organ in frog. About 1/3 of the total oxygen is taken up by frog through the skin. This type of respiration is called as cutaneous respiration. Frog shows the presence of mucus glands on the skin. These glands secrete mucus onto the surface of the skin. The mucus layer over the skin retains water, reduces evaporation of water from body, and keeps the skin moist. To retain the skin moisture, frogs do some unusual features like living inside the burrow. During summer months, when it is hot and dry, frogs burrow deep into the soil and sleep. This is called aestivation or summer sleep. During severe winter months, frogs burrow deep into soil and sleep. This is called hibernation or winter sleep. Some insects have exoskeleton made of cuticle. They cannot respire through the skin, so they have adopted a different system called tracheal system of respiration. The respiratory pathway in cockroach starts from spiracle, followed by atrium, trachea, and finally the tracheoles. Spiracles are the small apertures present on the sides of the body. Cockroach has 10 pairs of spiracles, each open into a small chamber called atrium. From each atrium, a tracheal tube arises. All the tracheal tubes of a side join to form a longitudinal tracheal trunk. The trachea further divides into fine branches called tracheoles, which carry air to the cells in the tissues. Mechanism of tracheal respiration. During inhalation, the body cavity of the insect is expanded. Air pressure inside the trachea is reduced compared to outside. So, air from outside enters respiratory passage and reaches the tracheoles. During exhalation, body cavity contracts, air pressure inside the tracheae is increased compared to outside. So, air inside the tracheae escapes out. Fishes have developed special organs for respiration, which are known as gills or branchiae. Respiration through branchiae is known as branchial respiration. Flow of water along the respiratory path starts from mouth, pharynx, internal branchial aperture, gill pouch, and ends in the external branchial aperture. Mechanism of branchial respiration. When the fish opens its mouth, the floor of the mouth is lowered. Water with dissolved oxygen from outside enters the oral cavity. When the mouth closes, water from the oral cavity is pushed into pharynx and then forced into the gill pouches through internal branchial aperture. Now, water bathes the gill lamellae of gill pouch and exchange of gases takes place here. Oxygen diffuses from water into the blood, and carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood into the water. After gaseous exchange, water along with the carbon dioxide flow out of the body through external bronchial aperture. Respiration taking place through lungs is called pulmonary respiration. Lungs are elastic bag-like structure and are supplied with a large number of blood vessels. Lungs consist of air sacs or alveoli in which gaseous exchange takes place. Pulmonary respiration is found in amphibians, birds, and mammals. In this topic you have learnt, in amoeba, exchange of gases occurs by simple diffusion. Respiration through the skin is called cutaneous respiration. Insects have adopted a different type of respiratory system called tracheal system. Some aquatic animals have developed special organs for respiration known as gills. Respiration taking place through lungs is called pulmonary respiration.
At the end of this topic, you will be able to narrate the process of respiration in plants, mention the types of respiration occurring in plants, draw the structure of stomata, explain how respiration and photosynthesis are contrasting yet complementary processes. Plants, like other living organisms, respire to get energy from food. However, they differ from other organisms in that plants do not have any special organs for breathing like the higher groups of animals. Similarly, plants do not show any breathing movements as higher animals do. Plants breathe through tiny pores in the leaves called stomata. Oxygen from the air diffuses into the leaves and the carbon dioxide from the leaves diffuse out through stomata. Stems have minute openings on their surfaces called lenticels. These openings help in the exchange of gases. Roots also respire independently. Roots draw in air from the air spaces present between soil particles. Thus, all parts of the plant respire independently. Aquatic plants directly exchange gases with the water that surround their leaves, roots, and stems. Photosynthesis takes place only during the daytime in the presence of light, whereas respiration is a metabolic process that takes place throughout. Photosynthesis and respiration contrast each other in the products released. While photosynthesis consumes carbon dioxide and releases oxygen, respiration does exactly the opposite, consuming oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. However, this contrasting feature makes these two processes complementary to each other. A part of the oxygen released during photosynthesis is used by the plants for respiration and the rest is sent out through the stomata. Carbon dioxide released during respiration is used up by the plant for photosynthesis. Based on the availability of oxygen, respiration is categorized into two types: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen, and anaerobic respiration takes place with the absence of oxygen. Higher plants respire in aerobic conditions, while lower organisms like bacteria and yeast can respire even under anaerobic conditions. In this topic, you have learnt plants respire to get energy from food. Each part of the plant, leaves, stem and root, respire independently. While leaves have stomata, stem has lenticels for exchange of gases. Roots respire by taking air from their surrounding soil particles. Respiration and photosynthesis are contrasting processes, yet complementary to each other in that the product of one becomes the input of the other. Higher plants respire aerobically, while lower organisms like bacteria and yeast can respire even under anaerobic conditions.